Lisa Carter wiped her hands on her uniform and stared out the small window of the spaceship. Stars filled the black space around them, more stars than she had ever seen back home in Kansas. She still could not believe she was here, flying through space to meet aliens. 2 years ago, she had been working at the local grocery store, trying to help her family save their farm. Now she was part of humanity's first mission to talk with beings from another world. The spaceship was called the Stellar Dawn, and it was huge. Lisa had gotten lost 3 times in her first week aboard. The ship carried over 200 people, all smart and important. There were scientists, soldiers, doctors, and diplomats. Lisa was just a communications officer. Her job was to make sure the radio systems worked and to help translate messages. She felt very small among all these brilliant people. Captain Jake Morrison walked through the main corridor where Lisa was working. He was a tall man, with gray hair and kind eyes. Everyone respected him. He had been in space longer than anyone else on the ship. When he saw Lisa checking the communication equipment, he stopped to talk. "How are you doing, Carter?" he asked. His voice was warm and friendly. "Fine, sir. Just making sure everything works properly for when we meet the aliens," Lisa replied. She always felt nervous talking to the captain, even though he was nice to everyone. "Good work. We need those systems working perfectly. The Zephyrians are very particular about communication protocols." The captain looked out the window at the stars. "You know, when I first joined the space program, I never thought I would be talking to aliens. It still feels like a dream." Lisa nodded. She understood that feeling. "Sir, do you think they will like us? The aliens, I mean." Captain Morrison was quiet for a moment. "I hope so, Carter. I really hope so. A lot depends on this meeting." After the captain left, Lisa went back to her work. She thought about home, often. Her family's farm had been in Kansas for 3 generations. Her grandmother had taught her to play piano in the old farmhouse kitchen. Those were happy memories, but they hurt too. The farm was gone now, sold to pay debts. Her parents had moved to the city to find work. Lisa had joined the space program because it offered steady pay and a chance to help her family. She was not like the other people on the ship. Dr. Patricia Stone had degrees from 3 universities and spoke 5 languages. Engineer Tony Martinez had built robots that could think. Communications specialist Amy Brooks had worked with the government for 20 years. Lisa had barely finished high school and learned her job through training programs. Sometimes she wondered if there had been a mistake in choosing her for this mission. The ship's computer announced that they were approaching Zephyr Prime, the homeworld of the Zephyrian Empire. Lisa looked out the window and saw a beautiful blue and green planet with 3 moons. It looked peaceful, but she felt worried. Everything she had heard about the Zephyrians made them sound very advanced and proud. In the briefing room, all the important crew members gathered to hear final instructions. Lisa sat in the back trying to stay invisible. Dr. Stone stood at the front with a holographic display showing images of the aliens they would meet. "The Zephyrians are tall, usually, about 7 feet in height," Dr. Stone explained. "Their skin has a crystalline quality that reflects light. They are very intelligent and have built one of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. However, they are also known to be particular about who they consider worthy of respect." Ryan Davis, the chief science officer, raised his hand. "What does that mean exactly?" "It means they judge other species by their own standards. The Zephyrians believe that true intelligence can only be measured through artistic achievement, especially music. They see technical advancement as less important than cultural sophistication." Lisa felt her stomach tighten. She was not sophisticated, at all. She had grown up on a farm, listening to country music and her grandmother's old piano songs. Commander Kevin Walsh spoke up. "What kind of music do they prefer?" "Complex harmonic compositions that require years of study to master. Their music is mathematical and precise. They believe it reflects the order of the universe." Dr. Stone changed the display to show strange instruments that looked like nothing Lisa had ever seen. "We should be prepared for them to test our cultural knowledge." The briefing continued for an hour. Lisa learned that other alien species would also be present at the meeting. Some were friendly to humans, others were not. The Zephyrians had invited everyone to watch humanity's first diplomatic contact. It felt like being on display at a zoo. After the briefing, Lisa walked back to her station feeling more nervous than before. She passed the ship's recreation room and heard piano music. Someone was playing a classical piece she did not recognize. The music was perfect, every note precise and clean. It reminded her of what Dr. Stone had said about Zephyrian music. Lisa thought about her grandmother's piano back on the farm. It had been old and some keys stuck, but her grandmother had played it every evening after dinner. She had taught Lisa simple songs, folk tunes, and hymns that had been passed down through their family. Lisa had not touched a piano in 2 years, not since they sold the farm. The music from the recreation room stopped, and Lisa heard people clapping. She walked past quickly, not wanting to interrupt. These people probably had years of training. They understood music in ways she never would. The ship's intercom crackled to life. All crew members prepare for orbital insertion around Zephyr Prime. We will be docking with the Zephyrian station in 4 hours. Department heads report to the bridge for final preparations. Lisa returned to her equipment, running final checks on all the communication systems. Her hands moved automatically over the controls while her mind wandered. She wondered what her grandmother would think of her being in space, about to meet aliens. Grandma had always said that music was the language of the heart, that it could reach people in ways that words could not. The communication equipment hummed quietly around her. In a few hours, these systems would carry the first official conversation between humans and Zephyrians. Lisa hoped everything would work perfectly. She hoped the aliens would see something good in humanity. Most of all, she hoped she would not do anything to mess up this important moment. Outside the window, Zephyr Prime grew larger as they approached. Soon, Lisa would see aliens for the first time. She took a deep breath and tried to calm her nervous heart. The docking bay of the Zephyrian station was unlike anything Lisa had ever imagined. The walls seemed to be made of living crystal that pulsed with soft light. Music filled the air, but it was not like any music from Earth. The sounds were mathematical and precise, creating patterns that hurt her head to follow. Everything was beautiful and cold at the same time. Lisa walked behind the main diplomatic team, carrying her equipment case. Her job was to monitor communications and make sure the translation systems worked properly. She tried to stay quiet and invisible, but the strange environment made her feel even more out of place than usual. The Zephyrians were waiting for them in a vast chamber with a ceiling that stretched up like a cathedral. Lisa had to crane her neck to see the top. The aliens were exactly as Dr. Stone had described, but seeing them in person was still shocking. They stood nearly 7 feet tall, with skin that looked like it was carved from precious stones. Light seemed to flow under their skin in patterns that changed as they moved. Ambassador Velthara stepped forward to greet the human delegation. When she spoke, her voice sounded like wind chimes mixed with distant thunder. The translation device in Lisa's ear turned her words into English, but something was lost in the process. The alien's voice carried emotions and meanings that the machine could not capture. "Welcome, humans of Earth, to our cultural sanctuary," Velthara said. Her tone was polite but distant, like someone greeting unwelcome guests. "We have gathered, representatives from many worlds, to witness this historic meeting." Lisa looked around the chamber and saw other aliens she had only read about in reports. The Centaurians stood in a group near one wall, their blue skin and 4 arms making them look like living sculptures. The Void Watchers floated near the ceiling, their dark robes hiding whatever bodies they might have. There were others too, species Lisa did not recognize, all watching the humans with curious or skeptical expressions. Captain Morrison stepped forward and bowed slightly. "We are honored by your invitation, Ambassador. Humanity hopes this meeting will begin a long friendship between our peoples." Velthara's crystalline features shifted in what might have been a smile, but there was no warmth in it. "Friendship requires understanding, Captain Morrison. Understanding requires demonstration of worth. Your species has achieved impressive technological advancement in a remarkably short time, but technology alone does not indicate true civilization." Dr. Stone moved closer to the captain. Lisa could see tension in the diplomatic team's shoulders. This was not starting well. We would be happy to share our cultural achievements with you, Dr. Stone said carefully. Humanity has produced great literature, visual arts, and musical traditions over thousands of years. Several aliens in the chamber made sounds that the translation system could not interpret, but they did not sound like approval. Ambassador Velthara raised one long, crystalline hand for silence. We have observed many species make such claims, she said. Words are easy. True culture must be demonstrated, not described. She gestured to the center of the chamber, where a strange instrument stood waiting. This is a resonance harmonizer. It reads the emotional and intellectual patterns of the performer and translates them into harmonic expression. Only beings with genuine cultural sophistication can produce music worthy of attention. Lisa stared at the instrument. It looked like a piano, but the keys were made of the same crystal material as the walls. Soft light pulsed along its surface in rhythm with the background music that filled the station. She had never seen anything so beautiful or so frightening. We invite your delegation to demonstrate humanity's cultural worthiness, Velthara continued. The harmonizer will reveal the true depth of your artistic soul. If you possess genuine cultural achievement, the music will reflect it. If you do not. She left the sentence unfinished, but her meaning was clear. The human delegation exchanged worried glances. Lisa saw Dr. Stone's face go pale. Commander Walsh stepped back slightly, his hand moving to his communication device as if he wanted to call for help. I must admit, Dr. Stone said slowly, none of our diplomatic team has extensive musical training. We brought scholars and scientists, not performers. A ripple of what sounded like laughter came from the alien observers. Lisa felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment, even though she was not part of the main delegation. Ambassador Velthara's expression did not change. How unfortunate. On Zephyr Prime, any educated individual can demonstrate basic harmonic competence. Musical ability is considered fundamental to intelligence. Without it, how can we assess your species' potential for meaningful cultural exchange? Captain Morrison looked desperate. Lisa could see him trying to think of a solution. The entire mission was falling apart before it had really begun. 2 years of planning and preparation, and they were failing because no one had expected a musical test. Perhaps, the captain said carefully, we could demonstrate other forms of human achievement. Our literature, our scientific discoveries, our... Captain, Velthara interrupted. You misunderstand. We are not interested in your technical accomplishments. Many species can build machines and solve mathematical problems. True civilization requires the ability to express the deepest truths of existence through harmonic resonance. It requires the soul to speak through sound. Lisa watched the aliens, crystalline fingers move in complex patterns as she spoke. Even her gestures seemed musical, following rhythms that Lisa could not understand but somehow felt in her bones. Ryan Davis, the chief science officer, whispered something to Dr. Stone. She shook her head quickly. Commander Walsh activated his communication device, probably preparing to report their failure back to Earth. The chamber fell silent except for the background music that never stopped. Lisa could feel the weight of all those alien eyes watching the humans, waiting to see them fail. She thought about her grandmother back on the farm, playing simple songs on the old piano. Those songs had never seemed important before, just part of home, part of comfort. Engineer Tony Martinez broke the silence with a nervous laugh. Well, someone has to try it, right? We can't just stand here looking stupid. He looked around at his crewmates. What about you, Lisa? You're always humming while you work. At least you know some music. Lisa felt the blood drain from her face. Every eye in the chamber turned toward her, human and alien alike. She wanted to disappear, to sink into the crystal floor and never be seen again. I don't, she started to say, but her voice came out as barely a whisper. Commander Walsh looked at her with desperation in his eyes. The mission was failing and they were running out of options. Lisa realized with growing horror that they might actually expect her to save humanity's first diplomatic contact by playing an alien piano she had never seen before. The resonance harmonizer waited in the center of the chamber, its crystal keys, gleaming with inner light, ready to judge whether humanity deserved a place among the civilized species of the galaxy. Lisa felt like the crystal chamber was spinning around her. All the aliens were staring at her now, their strange eyes filled with curiosity and doubt. The human delegation looked at her with a mixture of hope and desperation. She wanted to run away, to hide somewhere until this nightmare was over. "I can't do this," she whispered to Tony Martinez. "I'm not a musician. I just learned a few songs from my grandmother when I was little." Tony put his hand on her shoulder. "Lisa, you're the only one here who knows anything about piano. The rest of us can barely turn on a radio." Dr. Stone approached them, her face tight with worry. "Carter, I know this is not what you signed up for, but we are in a very difficult situation. If we refuse their challenge, they might consider it an insult. This could affect relationships between humanity and the entire galactic community." Lisa looked across the chamber at the resonance harmonizer. The crystal keys seemed to pulse with their own light, waiting for someone brave enough to touch them. She had never been brave. She had always been the quiet one, the one who stayed in the background while other people did important things. "What if I mess it up?" she asked. "What if I embarrass all of humanity?" Captain Morrison walked over to their small group. His voice was gentle but urgent. "Carter, I won't order you to do this, but I will ask you, as a favor to me and to everyone back on Earth. We need someone to try." Ambassador Velthara watched the humans discussing among themselves. Her crystalline face showed no emotion, but Lisa could sense impatience in the way she stood. The other aliens were beginning to whisper among themselves. Some of the sounds they made clearly expressed amusement at humanity's obvious discomfort. Commander Walsh stepped closer to Lisa. "Look, I know you think you're not qualified, but none of us are. At least you have some experience with piano. That's more than anyone else here can say." Lisa felt trapped. She looked around the chamber one more time, seeing all the advanced alien species watching her with skeptical expressions. They expected her to fail. They wanted her to fail so they could dismiss humanity as culturally inferior. "I only know simple songs," she said desperately. "Country music and old folk tunes. Nothing sophisticated like what they probably expect." "Maybe that's not a bad thing," Tony said. "Maybe simple is better than trying to fake something complicated." Dr. Stone nodded slowly. He might be right. Authenticity could be more valuable than technical skill. Lisa took a shaky breath. She thought about her grandmother sitting at the old piano in the farmhouse kitchen. Grandma had never worried about being sophisticated or impressive. She had just played the songs she loved, the songs that made her happy or helped her remember good times. "If I do this," Lisa said quietly, "and if I fail, will you promise not to blame me? I'm just a communications officer. I never wanted to represent all of humanity." Captain Morrison's expression softened. "Carter, you already represent humanity just by being here. You represent the best of us, the regular people who work hard and care about others. If anyone can show these aliens what humans are really like, it's you." Lisa was not sure she believed him, but she could see that they were out of options. Someone had to try the alien instrument, and she was the only person on the team who had ever touched piano keys. She walked slowly toward the center of the chamber. Each step felt heavy, like she was walking through deep water. The resonance harmonizer grew larger as she approached it. Up close, she could see that it was even more complex than she had first thought. The crystal keys were arranged in patterns. That made no sense to her. There were more keys than a normal piano, and some of them seemed to glow brighter than others. Ambassador Velthara stepped forward as Lisa reached the instrument. "Human, what is your name and your qualification for this demonstration?" Lisa's voice came out small and shaky. "My name is Lisa Carter. I'm a communications officer. I don't have any formal musical training. I just learned some basic piano from my grandmother when I was young." A sound like wind through metal came from several of the alien observers. Lisa was pretty sure they were laughing at her. Her cheeks burned with embarrassment, but she forced herself to keep standing straight. "Interesting," Velthara said. "You admit to having no proper education in harmonic arts, yet you volunteer to represent your species in this crucial demonstration. Are humans typically so confident in their limitations. "No, ma'am," Lisa replied. "I'm here because no one else could do it. We didn't know there would be a musical test." More sounds of alien amusement filled the chamber. Lisa felt smaller than ever, but she also felt a spark of something else. These aliens thought humans were stupid and unprepared. Maybe they were right about being unprepared, but that did not make humans stupid. "Very well," Ambassador Velthara announced to the entire chamber. "The human Lisa Carter will attempt to demonstrate her species' cultural worthiness through harmonic expression. Let all present witness whether humanity possesses the spiritual depth necessary for inclusion in civilized galactic society." Lisa approached the crystal piano with trembling hands. She could feel the energy radiating from the instrument even before she touched it. The keys felt warm under her fingers, almost alive. When she pressed one key experimentally, the sound that came out was unlike anything she had ever heard. It was pure and clear, but it seemed to carry emotions along with the note. She tried a simple scale, the first thing her grandmother had taught her. Each note rang through the chamber with incredible clarity, but Lisa could feel something else happening. The instrument was not just making music. It was somehow reading her thoughts and feelings, amplifying them along with the sound. The alien observers grew quiet as Lisa continued her tentative exploration of the keys. She found a melody she remembered from childhood, a simple tune her grandmother had played during thunderstorms to help Lisa feel safe. As she began to play it on the crystal piano, she felt the instrument respond to the memory behind the music. Lisa closed her eyes and let her fingers find the familiar patterns. She forgot about the aliens watching her. She forgot about the diplomatic mission and the pressure to succeed. For a moment, she was back in her grandmother's kitchen, learning that music could be a comfort and a bridge between people who cared about each other. The resonance harmonizer began to glow brighter as Lisa played, and something amazing started to happen in the crystal chamber. As Lisa played the simple melody from her childhood, something extraordinary began to happen. The crystal keys under her fingers started to glow brighter, and the music that filled the chamber was no longer just sound. It was something much more powerful. Lisa felt the resonance harmonizer connecting with her memories. As she played the gentle tune her grandmother had used during thunderstorms, everyone in the chamber could suddenly feel what she had felt as a scared little girl. They experienced the warmth of the farmhouse kitchen, the smell of fresh bread baking, and the comfort of knowing someone loved them enough to chase away their fears with music. The aliens in the chamber stopped their whispered conversations. Ambassador Velthara took a step closer to the instrument, her crystalline features showing surprise for the first time since the humans had arrived. The other species present began to move closer as well, drawn by something they had never experienced before. Lisa was not aware of the effect she was having on her audience. She was lost in her memories, letting her fingers find melodies she had not played in years. She moved from the thunderstorm song to a lullaby her grandmother had sung while teaching her the piano. The harmonizer translated not just the notes, but the feeling of small hands struggling to reach the keys, the patience of an elderly woman guiding those hands, and the joy of finally playing a song all the way through without mistakes. The Centaurians, who were known throughout the galaxy for their emotional control, began to make soft sounds of wonder. Their forearms moved in gestures that expressed feelings they did not have words for. The mysterious Void Watchers descended from the ceiling, their dark robes flowing as they came closer to witness what was happening, but Lisa played on, unaware of her growing audience. She found herself playing Amazing Grace, a hymn her grandmother had loved. It was a simple song that most Earth children learned, but as the harmonizer processed it, the aliens in the chamber experienced something they had never felt before. They felt the human concept of grace, of forgiveness, of second chances and redemption. They felt what it meant to be lost and then found. Tears began to appear on alien faces. Species that had not cried in thousands of years found water running down their cheeks. The Zephyrians, who prided themselves on their emotional discipline, were openly weeping. Even Ambassador Velthara's crystal skin showed wet tracks where tears had fallen. Lisa moved to another memory, playing a folk song about going home. Her grandmother had played it whenever she missed her own childhood in Ireland. Through the harmonizer, the aliens experienced homesickness, the ache of missing a place you could never return to, and the way music could bring back people and places that existed only in memory. The chamber filled with a sound unlike anything that had ever been heard there before. It was not just Lisa's playing, though her simple melodies formed the foundation. The harmonizer was taking her authentic emotions and creating something that spoke to every intelligent being present. It was music that came from real experience, from loss and love and the small struggles that made up an ordinary life. Captain Morrison watched in amazement as alien beings from dozens of different worlds gathered around Lisa and the crystal piano. Some were species that normally would not even speak to each other, but they were united now by the emotional honesty flowing from the instrument. Lisa began to play Shenandoah, an old American folk song about rivers and leaving home. Her grandmother had taught it to her while explaining how their family had come to Kansas generations ago, leaving everything they knew to start over in a new place. The harmonizer translated this into something universal, the experience of courage in the face of uncertainty, of building new lives while honoring old memories. The alien observers were no longer just listening. They were experiencing human history through Lisa's music. They felt what it meant to be pioneers, to leave safety behind for the promise of something better. They understood why humans had reached for the stars, why they had built spaceships and traveled to distant worlds to meet species they had never seen before. Dr. Stone stood with tears streaming down her face, finally understanding what was happening. The Zephyrians had been wrong about what made music sophisticated. It was not technical complexity or mathematical precision. It was emotional truth. Lisa's simple songs, learned in a farmhouse kitchen from a woman who had never studied music theory, contained more genuine feeling than all the calculated compositions the aliens had ever created. Lisa played Home on the Range, and suddenly every being in the chamber could feel what it meant to love a piece of land, to work soil with your hands, to watch crops grow and weather change with the seasons. They experienced the heartbreak of losing that connection, of watching family farms disappear to economic forces too big to fight against. The music grew stronger as Lisa's confidence increased. She was no longer the nervous communications officer who had been afraid to touch the alien instrument. She was a storyteller, sharing the experiences that had shaped her and her people. Each song carried the weight of human history, the struggles and joys of ordinary people living ordinary lives with extraordinary heart. She played Danny Boy, and the aliens felt the pain of parents watching their children grow up and leave home. She played Scarborough Fair, and they experienced the complexity of love, the way it could be beautiful and sad at the same time. She played When the Saints Go Marching In, and they felt hope, the human ability to believe that things could get better even when everything seemed dark. Ambassador Velthara approached the harmonizer with something like reverence in her crystalline features. She had spent her life studying what she believed was the highest form of artistic expression, but she had never heard anything like this. Lisa's music was simple in structure, but infinite in emotional depth. It was not trying to impress anyone or prove how clever it was. It was simply true. The other alien species began to make their own sounds, not of mockery or judgment, but of recognition. They were hearing something they had been searching for without knowing it. They were hearing the sound of a soul speaking honestly about what it meant to be alive, to love, to lose, and to keep going despite everything. Lisa finished Danny Boy and opened her eyes for the first time since she had begun playing seriously. She was shocked to see the chamber filled with weeping aliens, all of them staring at her with expressions she could not read. The silence that followed her music was deeper than any she had ever experienced. She looked around at the tear-streaked faces surrounding her and realized that something important had just happened. She was not sure what it was, but she knew that her simple songs had somehow touched these sophisticated beings in ways their own music never had. The resonance harmonizer continued to glow softly under her hands, waiting for her next choice, ready to translate whatever truth she chose to share. The silence in the crystal chamber stretched on for what felt like hours. Lisa sat at the resonance harmonizer with her hands still on the glowing keys, not sure what to do next. She had never seen aliens cry before. She had not even known that. Most of them could cry. The sight of tears on crystalline faces and strange alien features was both beautiful and frightening. Ambassador Velthara was the first to move. She walked slowly toward Lisa, her tall form seeming less intimidating than before. When she reached the harmonizer, she placed one of her crystal hands gently on the instrument's surface. Her voice, when she spoke, was softer than Lisa had heard it before. "Human Lisa Carter," she said, and the translation device made her words sound almost musical. "In 300 years of studying harmonic arts, I have never experienced anything like what you have just shared with us." Lisa looked up at the alien ambassador, still not sure if she had done something right or wrong. "I'm sorry if my playing wasn't what you expected. I know it was just simple songs, nothing fancy or complicated." Velthara made a sound that the translator could not interpret, but Lisa somehow understood it was gentle laughter. "Simple? Child, what you have done is the most complex thing I have ever witnessed. You have taken the experiences of your life, your memories, your pain and joy, and transformed them into something that speaks directly to the heart of every being here." One of the Centaurians approached the harmonizer. Lisa had read that they rarely spoke to other species, considering most life forms too primitive for meaningful conversation. When this one spoke, his forearms moved in patterns that seemed to be part of his language. "Human female," he said in a voice like distant thunder. "Your music has shown us something we thought impossible. We felt your grandmother's love as if it were our own memory. We experienced loss as you have experienced it. How is this possible?" Lisa did not know how to answer. She looked around the chamber and saw that all the alien observers had moved closer. They were no longer keeping their distance from each other or from the humans. Something about the music had broken down barriers that had existed for centuries. Dr. Stone stepped forward, her academic mind trying to understand what had happened. "Ambassador Velthara, could you explain what made Lisa's performance so different from what you expected?" The Zephyrian ambassador turned her attention to the human diplomatic team. "Dr. Stone, your species has achieved something we believed was impossible. We have spent millennia perfecting our harmonic arts, creating music of mathematical precision and technical complexity. But we had forgotten the most important element of true art." "What element is that?" Captain Morrison asked. "Authenticity," Velthara replied. "Truth. The willingness to share genuine emotion without trying to impress or manipulate the listener. Lisa's music came from real experience, real feeling. It was not trying to prove how clever or sophisticated humans are. It was simply honest about what it means to be human." One of the Void Watchers floated closer, its dark robes moving without any wind. When it spoke, its voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "We have observed many species across the galaxy. Most try to hide their struggles, to present only their achievements and successes. This human showed us her pain, her loss, her simple joys. She showed us weakness and made it into strength." Lisa felt overwhelmed by all the attention. She was not used to being the center of anything, especially something this important. "I didn't mean to show weakness. I was just playing the songs my grandmother taught me. That is exactly why it was so powerful," said a new voice. Lisa turned to see an alien she had not noticed before. It looked like it was made of living metal, with features that shifted and changed as it spoke. "Most beings spend their lives trying to appear strong and perfect. You showed us that true strength comes from accepting who you are, including the parts that hurt," the metallic alien continued. "I am Speaker Zan of the Forge Worlds. We pride ourselves on logic and efficiency. We believed emotions were weaknesses to be eliminated, but your music showed us that emotions are not weaknesses. They are the source of all meaning." More aliens began to speak, each one sharing how Lisa's music had affected them. The proud species that had come to watch humanity fail were now treating her with respect and wonder. Lisa felt like she was in a dream. "Ambassador," Velthara raised her hand for attention. "There is something all of you must understand. The resonance harmonizer is not just a musical instrument. It is a truth detector. It can sense when someone is trying to deceive or impress. It responds only to genuine emotional honesty. Many trained musicians have attempted to use it, but their music came out cold and empty because they were thinking about technique instead of truth. She gestured toward Lisa. This human approached the harmonizer with no pretense, no attempt to be anything other than what she is. The instrument responded to that honesty by amplifying not just her music, but her authentic emotional experience. What you all felt was not just sound, but the actual texture of human feeling. Dr. Stone was taking notes rapidly, trying to document everything that was happening. Are you saying that emotional authenticity is more important than technical skill in your evaluation of cultural sophistication? I am saying that we have been evaluating the wrong things, Velthara admitted. We looked for complexity and precision, but we missed the most important quality of all. We missed heart. Captain Morrison stepped forward. What does this mean? For humanity's application to join the galactic community, the Zephyrian ambassador looked around the chamber at all the other alien representatives. Lisa could see them nodding or making gestures of agreement in their various ways. Captain Morrison, I believe I speak for all present when I say that humanity has demonstrated something far more valuable than cultural sophistication. You have shown us emotional courage, the ability to be vulnerable, to share your true selves without hiding behind pretense or trying to appear superior. Lisa felt tears starting in her own eyes. She thought about her grandmother, who had taught her that music was about sharing feelings, not showing off. Grandma would have been proud to know that her simple piano lessons had helped humanity make friends among the stars. But I want to be clear about something. Velthara continued, looking directly at Lisa. What happened here today was not just about music. It was about the human capacity to find beauty in ordinary life, to transform personal struggle into universal truth. Lisa Carter, you have shown us that the most extraordinary gift any species can possess is the courage to be genuinely, honestly themselves. The chamber filled with sounds of agreement from dozens of different species. Lisa realized that she was witnessing the beginning of something important, something that would change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. 3 days had passed since Lisa's performance in the crystal chamber, and she still could not believe what had happened. The alien station that had felt cold and unwelcoming before now seemed warm and alive. Everywhere she went, aliens stopped to talk with her, asking about human music and culture. Many of them had never shown interest in other species before, but Lisa's simple songs had changed everything. She sat in her small quarters aboard the Stellar Dawn, trying to write a message to her parents back on Earth. How could she explain that she had accidentally become the most important person in humanity's first contact with alien civilizations? She was still just Lisa Carter from Kansas, the girl who had barely finished high school and learned piano in her grandmother's kitchen. A gentle knock on her door interrupted her thoughts. Captain Morrison entered with Dr. Stone and Commander Walsh. They all looked excited but also a little worried. Lisa, we need to talk with you about something important, the captain said, sitting down across from her small desk. Ambassador Velthara has made a formal request to the Galactic Cultural Council. Lisa felt her stomach tighten. What kind of request? Dr. Stone pulled out her electronic tablet and showed Lisa an official document covered in alien symbols. She has recommended that humanity be granted immediate membership in the council, not as junior members but as full partners. This is unprecedented. Most species wait decades or centuries for such recognition. That's wonderful news, Lisa said, though she was not sure why they looked worried. Isn't that what we wanted? Commander Walsh leaned forward. It is, but there's more. The Council has agreed to humanity's membership on one condition. They want you to serve as our first cultural ambassador. Lisa stared at them. Me? But I'm not qualified for something like that. I'm just a communications officer. I don't know anything about diplomacy or alien cultures. Captain Morrison smiled. Lisa, 3 days ago you did something that trained diplomats and cultural experts could never have accomplished. You made every species in that chamber understand what it truly means to be human. The aliens don't want our most educated people or our most technically skilled people. They want you. But why? Lisa asked. I don't understand what I did that was so special. Dr. Stone put away her tablet and spoke gently. Lisa, you showed them authenticity. You proved that the most powerful communication happens when someone is willing to be completely honest about who they are, including their struggles and imperfections. That's something you can't learn in school or train for in a program. It's just who you are. Lisa thought about her grandmother, who had always said that the best gift you could give someone was to let them see your real self. She had never imagined that advice would apply to alien diplomacy. What would I have to do as cultural ambassador, she asked. Captain Morrison pulled out another document. You would establish exchange programs between Earth and other worlds. You would teach aliens about human culture and help humans understand alien ways of thinking. Most importantly, you would help other species learn what you showed them in that chamber, how to express genuine emotion through art. The Zephyrians are particularly interested in learning human musical traditions, Dr. Stone added. They want to understand how we create emotional authenticity in our art. Several other species have made similar requests. Lisa walked to the small window in her quarters and looked out at the stars. Somewhere among those points of light was Earth, where her parents were probably still working in the city, trying to make ends meet after losing the farm. She thought about all the people back home who lived ordinary lives, who worked hard and loved their families and never expected to be important to anyone outside their small communities. If I accept this position, she said slowly, I want to make sure something is clear. I'm not special because I'm smarter or more talented than other humans. I'm only here because I was willing to share the things my grandmother taught me. There are millions of people on Earth who have stories and songs and wisdom that's just as valuable as mine. That's exactly why you're the right person for this job, Commander Walsh said. You understand that what makes humanity special isn't our technology or our achievements. It's our ability to find meaning and beauty in everyday life. A communication device on Lisa's desk beeped with an incoming message. Dr. Stone activated it, and Ambassador Velthara's crystalline image appeared in the air above the device. Greetings, Lisa Carter, the alien ambassador said. I hope I'm not interrupting important discussions. Not at all, Ambassador, Lisa replied. Captain Morrison was just telling me about the cultural ambassador position. Yes, that is why. I am contacting you. I wanted you to know that the response to your performance has been extraordinary. We have received requests from over 50 species asking for cultural exchange programs with humanity. The Forge Worlds want to learn about human emotional expression. The Void Watchers wish to understand your concept of hope. Even the proud Centaurians are interested in studying human-family relationships. Lisa felt overwhelmed. I had no idea my music would cause such a reaction. Lisa, Velthara said, and her voice was warmer than Lisa had ever heard it. You must understand that many of the species in our galaxy have become isolated in their own superiority. We stopped learning from each other because we believed we had nothing left to learn. Your performance reminded us that wisdom can come from the most unexpected places. What if I'm not good enough for this job? Lisa asked. What if I disappoint everyone? The alien ambassador made that gentle laughing sound again. My dear human, the reason you succeeded where others failed is precisely because you do not try to be impressive. You simply try to be honest. That is the only qualification you need. After the communication ended, Lisa sat quietly for several minutes. She thought about her grandmother's hands guiding hers across the piano keys, teaching her that music was a way to share love across time and distance. She thought about the farm they had lost, and how that loss had led her to join the space program which had led her to this moment. I'll do it, she said finally. But I want to establish something right away. I want to create programs that bring regular people from Earth to meet aliens, not just scientists and diplomats. Farmers, teachers, mechanics, parents. People who know what it's like to live ordinary lives and find extraordinary meaning in them. Captain Morrison smiled broadly. I think that's exactly what the galaxy needs, Ambassador Carter. Lisa laughed at hearing her new title. Ambassador Carter, my grandmother would never believe it. She paused, thinking. Actually, she probably would. She always said that if you're honest about who you are and willing to share your heart with others, you can make friends anywhere in the universe. She sounds like a wise woman, Dr. Stone said. She was, Lisa replied, looking out at the stars again. And now I get to share her wisdom with species she never could have imagined. I think she would like that. 6 months later, Lisa sat at a new resonance harmonizer in the Cultural Exchange Center on Zephyr Prime. Around her, beings from a dozen different worlds listened as she played Amazing Grace and taught them about the human concepts of forgiveness and second chances. In the audience, she could see humans and aliens sitting together, sharing stories and learning from each other. She had kept her promise. The exchange programs now brought teachers from rural schools, farmers from small towns, and workers from factories to meet alien civilizations. Each human who came brought their own authentic experiences, their own simple wisdom, their own proof that the most profound truths often came from the most ordinary lives. As she finished the hymn, Lisa smiled and began to play Home on the Range. Somewhere in the audience, she knew there was probably a young alien learning that the music of the heart could indeed unite the galaxy, one honest song at a time.